Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Marketing That Grows Your Business show. We are having I thought we were having tech issues, but we got our special guest in. We were having tech issues, but it's the nature of life. I mean, you just never know what you're going to get. It's like the box of chocolates, right? But as you guys are coming in, just give me a shout out. Where in the world are you this morning? How was your weekend? It was a little quiet around here, and finally we're getting some rain, y'all. I mean, it has been so dry. I don't think we've gotten any rain in I don't know, like a month and a half. So the fact that it's raining is like, yeah, yes, it's so exciting. Things were super dry. Today we are going to be talking about long form and short form content, primarily a lot of short form content. I'm just going to be straight up with you because short form content is so popular right now, but there are places for long form content. So we're going to dig into this. I almost forgot to hit the go live button over on Amazon. So we have Andy in the house. Hey, Andy, good to see you from Grand Prairie, Texas. Hey, our special guest today is from Texas too. So I don't know how far away you guys are going to be, but we're going to find out here in a minute. Michael, good morning. Good morning. Well, it is obviously for some of you guys, it may be afternoon where you are. Paul, it's so good to see you. You're with us almost every Monday, if not every Monday, and I just want to say thank you for being here. We have Tim in the house from Pennsylvania. Excellent. If you are brand new, never been on one of my shows before, let me introduce myself, and I'd love it if you would introduce yourself. My name is Kim Garst. I'm an online monetization strategist, which is just a fancy way of saying I love helping people grow their businesses, make more money in their businesses, essentially. I've owned an online business for 30 years, various online businesses over the years. And so I've been around a long time, and my Zen is absolutely helping others. Hey, Jenny, I'm so glad you're here. Oh, Ian, I'm so glad to see you. Yay. Excellent. I'm so glad everybody is here this morning and this afternoon. I know Ian is in the UK, so it's probably afternoon for him. Okay, so a couple of quick things. If you've never been on one of my shows before, just drop in #new and I'll wave to you. Oh, and Maria's here. Good. I'm so excited for you guys to be here. Okay, so a couple of quick things. We do giveaways on every Marketing That Grows Your Business show. This week is no different. We're going to be giving away 2 of the mugs from my brand new Kim.store store. So 2 winners today will receive the Social Bubble mug. That's what we call it. They're super cute. I have a couple of them myself. They come in white and black. So you can choose which color you would like. And the way you win, you can win if you do me the quick favor of dropping in your aha moments. That's how we put you in the wheel of wow. That's what we call it, the wheel of wow, and we draw winners at the end. So if you have an aha moment like, wow, I didn't know that, or yeah, I knew that, but I needed to hear it again, just drop those in, and we will put you in the wheel of wow, and we'll draw at the end of today's show. One other quick thing. We love the love around here. So if you know somebody that would get value from today's show, tag them, sprinkle it out in the world, use your emojis, whatever. Like I say, we love the love. So, and sharing with others is a way to show the love, right? So if you know somebody, like I say, that would get value, just pass it on to them. We'd love to have them. I want to give a real quick shout out to our special sponsor, Restream. If you have a business, or if you don't even, but if you want an easy peasy lemon squeezy tool to create professional live streams, Restream is a wonderful option. Personally, I'm using Restream right now to go live on multiple social media channels at the same time, right from my browser. Right now, we're live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Amazon Live, and multiple Facebook groups. Also, hint, hint, this is a feature that's coming soon. We're also live on our special guest, Jeff Sieh's social platforms today, too. That's a new feature that they're getting ready to roll out. So, very cool there. You can interview guests, brand your broadcast, bring up your viewers' comments, and so much more. You can even pull in custom graphics and videos. This is the perfect platform for new and experienced creators alike. If you want to use your own branding, custom graphics, go live in multiple places, you are going to need a paid plan. But I have great news for you. Restream has offered my peeps a huge discount, 25% off, and not just 25% off, but it's 25% off for life. So as long as you have the account, you get access. Normally when I've worked with brands before, they give me a little discount, like maybe for 30 days, but to offer to my peeps. But this is a for life discount. You can find the details in the up above in the video here. Just use Garst 25 to get the special deal. So don't forget that. But seriously, this is a wonderful tool. You will love it. Okay, all the housekeeping stuff out of the way. Let's talk about our special guest. Let me introduce you to my sweet friend, Jeff Sieh. Jeff is an international speaker and a visual marketing consultant. He specializes in Pinterest, visual content, and video. I would even add some other things to his specialties, but we'll talk about that later. He hosts the Social Media News Live, a live show and podcast giving you the latest social media trends, tactics, and tips. That's every Friday. You don't want to miss that. You can also tune in to previous versions or previous episodes. Jeff also has the head beard at Manly Pinterest Tips and has worked with and produced visual content for various companies, including Guy Kawasaki, myself, Social Media Examiner, and Tailwind. Y'all, he is a big deal. So I want you guys to welcome my sweet friend, Jeff. Hey, Jeff. Oh, let me get you in here. Hang on. I always get this screwed up. Hang on. I'll get you in here in a minute. I swear, sometimes I get this. Oh, for Pete's sake!
Well, there I am. I'm here.
Yes, I tell you, I always hit the wrong buttons, and then I'm like, okay. Then I get a little flustered, and I'm like, okay, which button am I supposed to hit? Yeah. Now, if I had Jeff producing this show, I wouldn't have that problem. So that's another of his specialties. I'm just saying, y'all. He does produce live shows. So if you are ever in the need of somebody who, to run your show, Jeff does it. He's really awesome at it.
In fact, we're actually doing Guy Kawasaki's this Wednesday. I produce his show every Wednesday as well as his podcast. So it's fun. A lot of fun stuff.
Yes.
So, and we use Restream as well. So he's
yes.
We use Restream for that show. Yeah.
And he is, like I said, he's got many talents. I see Ian says the same thing. He's like, Jeff is too multi-talented. It really shouldn't be allowed.
I can't sing like Ian, though. I can't do the cool little videos that he does.
I know. I don't know if you guys know Ian Anderson Gray. If you don't, you need to. He's the sweetest, amazingly talented person. Not only is he a great content creator, but he is also has an amazing voice.
Yeah, he's a professional, like baritone.
Yeah.
He's professional. Like I think he taught up till this year, in this big music school. So yeah, he knows what he's doing. Don't tell him that he'll get a big head.
Yeah, so, I mean, the reality is, and this is true for all of you guys listening too. We all have talents. We all have things that we're good at. But yeah, Ian is amazing, as Tim says. Okay. So I promised everybody we're going to be talking about long and short form content. Mm-hmm. So Jeff, can you tell people the difference between long form and short form content when it comes to social media? I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, okay, we're primarily talking about short form content, but we should probably define long form content too.
Yeah. So that's a good question because, and I think that term is changing as apps like TikTok and now YouTube Shorts and all this stuff has come into kind of being. I think our attention span for video is getting shorter, except for things like I would consider like this show is long form content. I would say something I would think of something over 3 minutes, and people in the comments can tell me if I'm wrong or not. But I think of something over 3 minutes is kind of starting into creep into that long form content. Now, an hour long show or a 45-minute show on YouTube that's a podcast, I would consider long form content. A webinar would be long form content. Short form content, I think of TikTok. And why I went with the 3 minute mark is TikTok recently, and we kind of covered this over at Social Media News Live. It's because it's always in the news, it seems like, is they went to 3 minutes. They were, for a long time, they were the 60-second kind of quick stuff, and they've moved to 3 minutes. And so that's why I think of anything on TikTok is short form content to me.
Yeah.
And that's why I went with a
Well,
3 minute mark.
they're definitely setting the standard. TikTok
Right.
is for short form content. Long form content can also, in my opinion, be just a long post, like a long text
Right.
post.
Yeah.
Where you have to hit the more button and you have to scroll for a while.
Some of the comments on Instagram are long form content.
Yes.
So people write like a blog post with their captions. So yeah, yes. I agree.
So that, again, but I really wanted to focus in on the short form because I think that there's so much opportunity for short form content right now, and it is absolutely what people are consuming. So what do you think? Well, let's dig into that. Why do you think that most people are just like, lining up for short form content?
Because I think our attention span has gone down, but I think what really is it's been going that way for a long time. I mean, what was it? We were saying like it was the attention span of a goldfish was like 3 seconds. I think it's shorter than that now. You think of how fast things are going through the feed and how much content there is. TikTok, I think, is really as marketers, if we put our marketing hat on, it's really kind of opened our eyes. Now we had Vines back in the day, those short. I can't even remember how long Vines were. Were they 3 seconds, 6 seconds? I can't remember. They're really short. And that kind of started. But I think what's gotten people really thinking this way is because of the entertainment value that they're going on TikTok. So I even asked my daughter before the show, I said, do you go to YouTube anymore for like entertainment to watch videos? Because for a while there, she would go and watch her like some of the YouTubers, and some of them she still goes back because she's had that relationship with them, but she doesn't go there for YouTube for entertainment anymore. That used to be where we would go. Like we would go watch Good Mythical Morning with those two guys and some other YouTubers, and there's still that there. Like Zach King's still on. I think he's still on YouTube. But most people for entertainment, they're getting that real quick hit on TikTok, and they're going there, and it's going really, really fast. And that's where I think I am seeing, and this is what my hypothesis is it's going to be places where we're going to have different places where we go to get different types of content. I think people are going to go to TikTok and the short form stuff to be entertained, to see those funny cat videos or howling dogs singing opera, those really quick hits, so that quick hit of our dopamine. It's going to be TikTok. When people want to go to learn something like how do I replace the wax seal on my toilet, I'm going to go to YouTube and watch, Roger Wakefield show me how to do that. So I think I have a feeling we're going to start splitting our audiences. And I think we got to look at that and figure out where our audience is and where the best ROI is going to be for our audience. Because for me, I love TikTok. I think it's great. I haven't figured out how to use it for my business yet. Now, people like Rachel Peterson have, and it works for them. But are your people on TikTok? Are the people who have money, are they going to be able to spend for you over on TikTok? I had Jen Herman on the show the other day, and she was talking about the importance of Instagram and, Reels and all the short form content there. And she was like, so many people, the small business she works with go, I got to hit that 10,000. I've got to have the swipe up so I can have links. And she goes, okay, if you did that, I mean, how many people can you have in your business? How many new clients can you have? And they're like, well, 3 or 4. And she's like, you don't need to have to swipe up. You're gonna have too many people. You won't know what to do with it. So you always have to think of strategy behind where the short form content is going. But I think it's a cool trend. I just haven't figured out personally for me how to use TikTok for my business to drive people over to my channels.
Yeah, and I haven't embraced TikTok myself either. Now, I know a lot of people have, and I've seen people embrace it and then leave it in favor of Reels. I really feel like everybody needs to decide for themselves what they feel comfortable with. I think there's a lot of content out there that is to your point, is entertainment value. And a lot of people push back on that because they're like, well, I'm not an entertainer. I can't dance. I don't want to do that. That's not going to attract my person. But I've seen so many amazing types of content. Like I personally have moved from TikTok to Reels because from a consumption standpoint,
where your people are.
and I have like fought the whole Reels thing myself because we've had trouble. My Reels keep disappearing, and so I haven't been able to really create that content yet. We even did a challenge on it, and anyway, that's a whole other story. We won't go into that right now, but I do believe there's a real like I noticed, let's see where Lisa was saying something. Oh, so she said, she's like, I'm 1,000 years old. You are not, girly. And I even lose myself in Reels in the evening. Same. And I even catch my husband, who's like like social, watching Reels. Yes, he does. So I was
so that's what I think the entertainment is there, because they're funny and listen, if you haven't watched The Social Network on Netflix, this algorithm, they're making it to hit those pleasure centers of the brain. It's pretty scary, but that's why it's so popular. Now, here's the thing. I said TikTok, I haven't figured out how to monetize it, but I have embraced short form content as a strategy because I think that is where things are going. I think even with business related video content and all that stuff, if you're not figuring out how to do short form content, you need to start, because it's going to be part of the ecosystem and of the culture. And we have got to learn as business owners and marketers how to do that properly. And the reason why is we've got to catch that attention. People aren't going to wait for you just to sit around and like finally get to the point like we kind of, some of us were used to doing on like webinars or, webinars. Still, it cracks me up. Everyone does it. And then you see, when the pitch is coming, and then you have that 30-minute pitch where everyone tunes out. I mean, it's a form. We need to break that kind of stuff and break the attention to break into people's attention. So I think short form content is really important, and I have embraced it. I've actually, my whole strategy is take long form content and figure out ways to chop it up to make it short form content. And we can get in some of the tools that I use for that.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that. And I just noticed this because it's so perfect for the timing right now. What is easier to create? Is it short form content or long form content? You would think absolutely. My first inclination is it's short form because it takes way less time. But what we haven't done, before we answer Ian's question, we haven't really identified what short form content is on the individual platforms. So like Instagram, for example,
it's the reels. So they're like a minute long, right? They're
reels.
A minute.
And I think stories are short form content.
Yeah, I agree.
So stories, and stories are on all the socials now. LinkedIn has them. Pinterest has them.
Rest in peace, Fleets.
Gone.
Yeah,
Fleets,
they're out of there. When you name something out of stuff you have to take before you have a colonoscopy, it's time to let it go.
I know. It's so funny you said that because just yesterday I was reading an article on that. People were kind of making fun of the fact that they named it Fleets. Right. Why they didn't just name it the same thing everybody else did, so that it
Twitter stories. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't even get me started on Twitter. They make me ill.
I just went blurry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Anyway, but the short form content is on all the social platforms, even YouTube. YouTube didn't really change their model forever. Like, I'm just seeing a black spot for you. There you are now. Okay. They really hadn't evolved with new features and stuff like that until they rolled out shorts. Like, they were pretty much status quo, where all the other social platforms are pretty much, copied each other and was adding this, that, or the other thing. And I think that was a big tell for me when YouTube decided they were going to add shorts. And those are doing very well, from what I understand, over on YouTube.
Yeah. So so shorts are 60 seconds. The interesting thing is TikTok went to 3 minutes, which I found really interesting. And the reason I think so is so they can do more songs, because you think about the average length of a song, and I notice like Jimmy Kimmel now, not Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon takes a lot of his late night stuff that are funny, those clips, then they fit really well in that 3 minute mark. So I think they're doing that to help with the musicality maybe of TikTok. But something that just broke, I think last week on Thursday or Friday, is now Reddit has added actual shorts content to their platform. So inside of their mobile app now, they're starting to have real like or TikTok like content as well. So is Pinterest next or some other platform? Who knows? But I think they're seeing that short form content, and we all know that it keeps us on the platform. You mentioned your husband going through reels. TikTok people, whenever I talk about TikTok, they go, yeah, I fell in the rabbit hole of TikTok and it was like 2 hours. So they those platforms are the whole strategy behind them is to keep them on that site. YouTube
Yeah.
wants you to stay on YouTube. TikTok wants you to stay on TikTok. And so when they see that, oh, these short form content is keeping them on there, of course they're going to adopt it to their platform because it makes sense, because they want to keep people there.
Yeah. And I think that Ian asked another great question. He says, does it depend on your perfect audience demographics? I never consume content on TikTok and instead go to YouTube. And you mentioned that. You talked about, is your person there? And I still feel like, we need to understand and do some research before we say, I'm going all in on TikTok. That said, and I'm curious to what you think about this, Jeff. I have seen people who've done like a 30-day TikTok challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and let's just be real, our age kind of be, like there's a lot of people who think
Right.
that TikTok's
Right.
for the youngsters, but
Right.
people that are our age, and I think some in the audience think that they're too old maybe for TikTok. I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth, but I'm just saying that I think sometimes that entertainment thing is a little scary for us.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen people doing like a committed time frame and getting good results with TikTok. What say you? Have you heard other people say similar things?
So here's the other thing is you need to figure out what does success mean for you on TikTok if you're going to go there. And this is with any other platform. So I have a lot of people, I've seen them like, yeah, I got 100,000 views on my TikTok. I'm like, okay, did it drive any traffic back to your site and did you make any money? And that's where things start to break down. Like my
Thank you.
son's girlfriend went viral on TikTok. She did a funny little video. It went crazy. Didn't make a dime, nothing. I mean, she got all these views, and that's great. So if you can monetize it, if you've got a way to bring them into your funnel, like Rachel Peterson, she does that. She knows how to do it. That's great. But just going there and saying, "Wow, look at all these views I got. I'm TikTok famous." What does that mean? Nothing. I mean, so you have to have a strategy. We had John Jantz on who did duct tape marketing, and one of his big on Tailwind show. And one of the things that he always talks about is like, don't do tactics, do strategy. We all want to jump on these big things as marketers. We want to be famous on TikTok because we think that's going to make us money. But is that really part of our strategy? Is that tactic being on TikTok really going to affect anything? And so you always have to think about that. And I still wonder, I even struggle with Instagram. I mean, a lot of people say that's great. I love going on Instagram, but really can you get them to click on the link in bio or your link tree or whatever you have there? Is it working for you? Even if you've got thousands of followers on Instagram, is it really driving traffic or purchases or business to your site? So it's got to be part of your strategy. And so, just doing content for content's sake, we got to stop doing that. We've got to really be thinking about how we can, maximize what we're doing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I just was looking at some of the comments while you were talking, and I find it interesting that a lot of people feel like long form content is easier than short form content.
You have to have
Um,
that hook. You have to,
yeah,
you got to think about how you watch your kids or watch your granddaughters or whatever use content, and then look how and take notes on your using content. Like, and we did this when we did the Pinterest challenge. When we were doing that video stuff, Kim, is
yes.
that, how are you consuming content? Like, what makes you stop and like actually watch the entire video? You know, when when was the last time you watched a YouTube video to the very, very end? And why did you? I mean, I think that's important to ask, because most of the time, if you go look back through my YouTube stuff, I'll watch a little bit of it, then I'll go, or something like that. And so I think we got to really look and analyze what's working, and writing those hooks and getting people interested and then getting them to stay. That's hard. That's hard for short form content. So I agree. I think it's easier to make long form and then go make short form out of that.
I think that if you're interested in short form content, I would spend some time really digging in. I've everybody that teaches this that I've seen teaching it talks about spending time, watching the content daily. Like if you're used to long form content, short form content is tough because you have to be super succinct. Like you just got to tell them, you got to hook them, and then you got to tell them what you got to tell them, and you're out of there. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
no elaboration. There's no like, it's almost like, and I feel like that they're all hooks. Like if you're going to share three things, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't share why you care about those three things. You just got to share the three things.
Right.
And
Right.
then you give them the opportunity to go somewhere else to get more information, right? Or to
Mm-hmm.
maybe they'll like, I want to know why you think that, Canva is one of the best
Right.
visual content tools, right? So it's really short and sweet. And it's interesting. I saw another comment from Nancy. If I can scroll back just a little bit, I want to say, by the way, you guys are putting in some amazing comments. But she was talking about how she's changed her podcast. Her latest podcast is 2 to 3 minutes. Her original one was always under 10 minutes. People are busy. I agree that people are busy. Again, though, I am in 100% alignment with what Jeff said is how do you use short form content to actually drive traffic or sales? It's
Mm-hmm.
one thing just to be creating it. So, Jeff, let's dig into, like you talked about, taking long form content that you already have. So what would that look like? Long form content, would that be like a
Right.
blog post, a
Yeah. Blog posts.
other videos?
Yeah, so I want to just real quick go back and talk about TikTok before we move on. Is
Mhm.
TikTok one of the things that's super successful is because of that algorithm. It's giving you what you want to see, and they're actually licensing that algorithm out to other things. So they've got something special there, and they know it, and a lot of other people know it too. So that being said, that's why it's so addictive and why we go down that rabbit hole. So long form content, taking that and making the short form. So a long form content can be a blog post. I think of it for like what we're talking about now is like video. So like this video, taking this and chopping it up. What I love to do for short form content is I like to do, I do my show, Social Media News Live on Fridays, and we do that show, and I get guests like Kim on there, and like I would have Ian on, and I had like Luria a couple weeks ago, and I ask them a question, and they usually answer it pretty succinct in under 2 minutes for the most part, and that's gold because that exactly is a question that I either take from the audience that somebody in the audience asks, or it's one that I have that I think will be applicable to my audience. And so I can chop that up, and I use Descript. I know Kim does it too, uses it too. Upload it to Descript. And the cool thing about Descript is when I highlight that section to find out, that I'm going to clip, it tells me the time, how long that's going to be clipped out. So I know that when I clip this, if I want to make sure it's under 2 minutes and 22 seconds, because that's the link of short form content on Twitter when I put a video out there. And I want to have enough room for my little bumper at the end. So I chop that out. So it's got, and the thing is, I don't worry about my face being on there. On my channel, I want to help my audience, and I want that answer that expert is doing to be out there and helping my audience. And so if you scroll through my Twitter feed, you'll see that is just chock full. I think I do 2 a day of those clips. And the cool thing about that, not only does it drive traffic back to my blog, but it also where they can read the whole transcript and they can watch the whole video if they want, and subscribe to my podcast, all that stuff. But it's another place where I put my sponsors. So I give my sponsors love and affiliate links and all that stuff there as well. So
Yeah.
for me, that short form content is working because it's doing multiple things. It's building my audience. It's selling product or making me money with my affiliates or my sponsors. It's giving me authority, even though my face isn't on that, because I'm doing that into my show. That gives me authority and in the marketplace. And so there's just so much you can do with that short form content, and it really doesn't take as much time. I also use that clip and I make it for IGTV, where I can put it over on IGTV, where I have a little bit longer time that has a link back to my stuff. Go ahead. You're gonna say
Well, I
something.
was just gonna let's demo this real quick for everybody. Let me ask a specific question that you can answer. So, and we can, and I'll give you a couple, and you can pick. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, do you use multiple tools to repurpose? So, like three. Do you have three tools that you use for repurposing that you could share with everybody?
So mainly everything starts with the transcript. Everything starts with Descript. And so I use Descript. We use that to edit Guy Kawasaki's blog posts. It's what I use to not blog posts, his podcast. It's what Descript is what once I upload it to the transcript, I use that to create my podcast from. I use it to take the clips out. And then happens is I've created a template in Premiere. If you look through, like I said, my Twitter feed, you'll see that all of that, it looks the same. It's got it's got the clip of the guest giving that advice or answering a question, and it's got below it, it's got the subtitles that's baked in, and Descript lets me export that exactly the same time. So when I have that clip inside Descript, I export it, and I used to send it right to Premiere, because you can export it right to Premiere, and I can open it in that template, render it out, it's done. You'll notice on mine, and I think this is important for short form content, I have like a progress bar on every one of my clips. I like that a lot because it lets people immediately see, when they see that short form clip, that it's not going to be a huge time commitment. They see, oh, it's moving really fast. This is going to be over in a minute. I'm going to stick around until the end, which is what I want. And so I'll take that. So I export it to Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and I use, once I have it rendered out, that video, it goes to Agorapulse, where it goes out to all those places. I've also started recently taking each of those clips, because they're over 2 minutes, and using those as YouTube videos. They're going out Monday and Wednesday. Experimenting with that, seeing how that's working. So mostly the tools I use are Descript, Premiere, and I don't even use really Premiere anymore, because now I have a VA that I just send the clip from Descript to them. I've given them the template for Premiere. They just render it out, and I wake up in the morning and I have another clip to push out there. And then Agorapulse. So those three things are what I use to repurpose.
And if you're not a Premiere user, like Adobe Premiere, one, it could be expensive if you don't already have it. It could be a challenge, tech challenge if you don't know how to use it. If you are that person, there's other resources out there like vid.io. It's VEED.io, that does that little progress bar that Jeff was talking about. So all you'd have to do is import that little clip into that tool, and it'll render it out. It puts that little progress bar on there, some branding, other really cool things. So that's just another quick tool for you. And I mean, technically, you can even use Canva. I mean, seriously. I mean, you could. Canva now has, and by the way, I'm just going to throw this out there, now has a record option. So you could technically create a video right within Canva. Just have it, it'll pull up your camera and your microphone, and you can record a quick little snippet. So I think that, for those that are, feel like the tech overwhelm is a little challenge for you, that those are options.
So I want to talk about Nancy's thing. She talked about her making her podcast 2 to 3 minutes. I think that's genius, Nancy. And I think that's and you could also repurpose that as like an Alexa briefing and have that go, because I think that would be really, really cool. So there's multiple places where you could repurpose that short form content. Another thing, and this is a friend that my friend Eric Fisher does. He's on Blinkist, which is, they're all about short form content. They take books and make them condensed so you can read them really quickly. They do the same thing with podcasts, and he's taking his podcast and doing that over on Blinkist, and he gets like affiliate money and all sorts of things, but also builds up his podcast. So I think that is super smart. The thing with me is it all starts with the transcript. Yeah. Everything. Now that we have these tools, it makes it, because I remember back in the day trying to edit these things down. It is so easy. I can highlight a 3-minute clip that I want to make an audiogram into Script. I can click one button and it automatically goes to Headliner, and you can do all that cool stuff over there. So It just is a game changer.
So I'm just going to tell you guys, because I'm probably that person who because that's why I always like, okay, here's some other options in case you don't feel like you're super techie. So, but when Jeff first told me about Descript, and for the longest time we kind of kept it to ourselves, I was like, we got to tell people about this. Jeff's like, no, we can't tell people. I'm like, yes, we got to tell people. And so now we like, because it's so
Right.
awesome. We're like,
Yeah.
and they've just gotten better and better. But I'll just real quick tell you something I think is pretty cool about Descript, because literally if you can just all you have to do is have a link to your video. You have a link to your video and you pop it in, copy it, or you can drag your video in, either one, but it'll transcribe your video. The transcription is pretty good. It's AI, so it's not like I still use Rev for top stuff. Like if I really want a really clean transcript, I still use Rev for that. But if I'm just trying to clip up my videos, I definitely use Descript, because like Jeff said, once you've imported it, all you have to do is, highlight a sentence or 3 or 5 or whatever you want your clip to be, and export it. If you've made a flub, like if you've said, sugar and you meant to say, sour, something, where you just have a flub, you can actually do something what they call dubbing, which means you can highlight the word that you flubbed and it will fix that voice. Basically, it's a voiceover. It'll fix it on your output, your final video. So it's got a lot of really cool features, and that's just a couple of things that I think are pretty cool about Descript. You can get, I think, if you go to kimgarst.com/Descript, you can. That is an affiliate link. I'm just warning you, but that way you can check it out and see. Do you know offhand, Jeff, if they have a free account that you can use?
I think they may have a test thing, or they have some sort of really low thing. I have 2 accounts because I use it so much. It's like, so you got to remember that it's not just for video, it's video and audio. So it's really a multi-purpose tool. Like I said, so the workflow we use for Guy Kawasaki's podcast, like how we have a really cool one. We have John Chu, who did Crazy Rich Asians. I just edited it yesterday. He did Crazy Rich Asians and In the Heights, those new movies that just came out. He goes and he records it with them. He uploads that to Descript. It makes a transcript. Guy goes through it and edits it, and then I go back and undo his edits a little bit, because he likes to take out every single and and everything. The problem is that can sound robotic because that's not the way people talk, and you want to take out some of them, but I would suggest if you start using Descript, there's a button which says remove filler words, and it'll have all of them selected. And then I just think it sounds robotic. So I usually am very selective on what I take out. I try to take out the ums if I can, and then I smooth things over. And then we export it to, the cool thing here is you can export it right to Adobe Audition. And that allows us to do sound design where we add the music behind it and kind of sweeten the voice up a little bit. And it's the same process we're going to use for Kim's podcast. So.
Yeah, and technically, originally it was designed as a podcast. I know we're getting a little off the beaten path a little bit, but this is maybe really super important for somebody. It was originally a podcast tool, so you can even record your podcast with it. So there's just a lot of really cool functionality with that little tool. Okay, so Jeff, can you share 3 ways that you or maybe even 3 places where you use the repurposed content, and why?
Yeah. So I kind of mentioned the big ones, and what I've done to make it easy is when I export those clips, I export them as square, because they work on all platforms. When you do that, you're able to take it to LinkedIn. We've had some really good success with repurposing LinkedIn, some content on LinkedIn and uploading them as video. So I do that across the different places. And then also, like I mentioned, I have the tall video, or the vertical video that will work for a story or for IGTV. And the cool thing that I have found, and I just got a message last night that says it's been viewed 50,000 times, is on Pinterest. So the idea pins and also their video pins now so I'll make idea pins where I'll just make a real simple title graphic in Canva or Photoshop then I'll play that video that I've exported for multiple places, the tall ones, and then have like a call to action. So it's like 3 different scenes or cards or like Instagram stories. And those things are going bonkers over on Pinterest. So I'm uploading those. It's just another place to have those, and it's growing my account. It's getting views, and I found it to be really effective over there because they're really giving a lot of love to idea pins now. And then after about a week, I take that idea pin and I upload it as a video pin where I can actually have a link back to my site, because you can't on idea pins, but you can on video pins. And so that's another place that maybe some people haven't thought of where to repurpose some of that stories type content. So that's the places that I use the most of. Like I said, I'm experimenting with YouTube because I love doing YouTube videos, but they're very time intensive when you start adding in B-roll and trying to do it really, really, like the YouTubers do, which, like, you look at like Sean Cannell, the stuff he does, that's great. I'm trying to make it another destination and it's easy as possible. And I'm going for discoverability, for search. So like if somebody types in like how to network on LinkedIn, I want my clip that I have of Vivica Von Rosen telling us how to do that for my channel. So I'm going for the search. I'm not sweetening it too much other than adding an in card where it shows other videos. So I'm trying to keep my repurposing as quick and easy as possible to as many places as possible, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and one thing that I love that you just said, because me, I'm a marketer to the bone, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you just said something that I thought was super brilliant. You milk the content on your Pinterest pins. I'm sorry, Pinterest story first.
Right.
I mean, it's what did you call it? It's
They're called idea pins.
idea
Yeah.
pins. So
Yeah.
you milk all the juice out of that you can get, try to get as much, because I'm assuming it's front loaded. It's
Yeah.
content that only, it's only going to get so much
Right.
juice.
Right.
And then you take that and create a video pin out of it where you're going to be able to really start to leverage it long term.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you guys heard that, but I wanted to really pull that out, because that is what I call a gift that keeps on giving. That's the content that's the type of content that I love to create, is what kind of content can you continue to get value from, especially in social media, because the reality of it is that most content that we create for social media has a lifespan of a hot second. Really, I mean, Twitter is like 30 seconds. Facebook, you're just gotta pray that somebody sees your content on Facebook. So it's one of those things where we need to make sure that the content, as much as we can. That's why I love the fact that YouTube has, searchability. Pinterest has searchability, you guys. And I think it's probably the most undervalued platform. I think a lot of people think it's just recipes and, craft stuff. And
Right.
there is so much business stuff happening on Pinterest. Don't throw it to the side, because I think there's opportunity there.
And here's the thing is, I think for marketers too, and I know small businesses and people getting solopreneurs and all those, we create this content and we're like, man, it just didn't, I worked so hard on it and it's gone. And we don't, I see so many of my live video friends and other people who do these shows and then it's gone. And I'm like, why? You had great guests. They really gave good advice and nobody finds it again. And so I love live video because you get so much out of it. You get a podcast, so I at least get 3 clips out of every show that I do that I can repurpose. I mean, if I don't get 3, then something bad happened, but most of the time I get more than that. And
I mean, the reality is we have to pick and choose, right?
Right.
We have to pick the best 3 it's just chock full of good stuff. Like today's show, for example. I mean, there's been so many things that you've said that would be so value-based to people, but I'll say this for me, I'm in the same boat as you. We try to pick, 3 of the best clips, and then we repurpose them.
Yeah. And here's the other thing is, like, especially when you're first starting out, is when you're able to showcase guests and you're constant, like like for my Twitter thing, I put like a clip from Kim was on our show talking about Instagram. I have that clip. I have it on repeat for 50 times because that's how long, people won't see it, but it's such good content. And it's most all the time is evergreen, unless it's some specific news thing. And I can keep churning that out, but it makes me look good to the guest. And other people, like if I'm trying to get a guest, they can look at my feed and go, oh wow, he shares. It's not just him, it's all about the guests over there. I'm going to go on his show because he's going to share my stuff out all the time. And so that's really important, I think, to help you grow your channel, grow your brand, because they see that you're, sharing stuff, and and you can get sponsors because that's all content that people are clicking on and watching, and there are links in every single one of those. I mean, so it's
Well,
it's
it's
really
funny you
important.
said that, because I love that you just said that, because you're right. Like if you're monetizing your show, like we're I know you have one, I have one.
Mhm.
We get sponsors for the show, but that's a gift that keeps on giving for our sponsors, because
Right.
all that content that we put out there, to your point, we always include our sponsors so that they continue to get at, that, added benefit and juice, because there's literally, like, if we keep sharing those snippets and that content, why wouldn't we? We're continuing to build out that sponsorship opportunity for which, the reality is, as long as we're driving traffic to our sponsors, they're going to continue to
Mhm.
sponsor us too.
Right.
So, it's one of those things that gives us opportunities in multiple lanes.
Right.
So now we've talked about, let's dig into that just a little bit. Like because I think this is, I know, again, it's we're trying to take long form content and turn it into snippets, right?
Mhm.
You know, what about a blog post? People that are blogging, what is the best way for them to take a blog and potentially repurpose it for something that could be short form content?
So there's a couple things like in headliner stuff. I would still try to. I would, if you don't like being on camera, then maybe you could read it with graphics going on behind. I know YouTubers. There's some podcasts that just have like the podcast artwork and the podcast is playing, and they want to do that to YouTube for search and stuff like that. So I would take as many clips as you can. I would make graphics out of those. I would make pins out of those things in the blog post. I had Lillian Leslie, gosh, I can't remember her name, but it's a big blogger, and she owns Milo Tree. And she was talking about how people aren't reading your blog posts, they're skimming and they're scanning. And so you've got to think about that. It's almost the same thing. It's like, what's going to hook them? What's going to keep them to the end? What's going to have them, stay on there or click on your stuff? So you've got to, the days of writing, multiple pages of like how you're feeling and waxing poetic about stuff. I really think, unless you're like Mark Schaefer or some other people who have established their blog for a long time, it's going to be really, really hard. People are going to discover you through Google, like, how do I do this, or the best ways to do this, or a listicle or something like that. And so you've got to really think strategically, almost like you would if you're starting a short form video. You've got to have that hook that gets them and keeps them on there, and then gives them something to do at the end. You've got to drive them somewhere, a call to action. You look at Kim's blog, she's got those throughout her content that she's calling people to do something. And I think that's important too. Otherwise, you're just writing in a diary, and that doesn't really do anything for you.
Yeah, and if you've been blogging, like, or even if you haven't been blogging in the, consistently, or you don't, there's still things that we could create fast. And I love the whole three, the value of the three, because it's something we can articulate in within a 2-minute window, to your point, less than
Mhm.
three for sure. But a lot of blog content is list based. Like, I can't tell you how many lists I have, or blog posts I have, that are, 19 ways to do this, or 5 ways to do that, or 7 ways to do that, where we could take, either shoot a quick little video. To Jeff's point, people don't read all the stuff under those headlines. That's why I've been creating content for years that's scannable,
Mhm.
because that's how people consume content. And I did this based on, or I did this shift myself, because that's the way I do. That's the way I read blog content. I'm looking for the hot nugget, if you will. And if you can think about it in that context, how can you quickly take what you already have and turn it into nuggets, small little pieces of content that people will get value from, and you will totally rock small content, or a small
Right.
content, short form content,
Right.
tiny content,
So
whatever.
let's talk about a little bit about how to be strategic about when you're doing long form content to make it easy for you to chomp it up. So like I said, I have usually it's really easy for me because the other thing with Descript is after I upload that transcript, I go through it and I already have, like on my show, and I can show you this on screen, but like I'll have an opening title and then I'll go to, you know, our first section and I'll kind of walk through those. So those are natural spots for me to have those places where I can cut, and I'll make those titles inside of Descript. Well, the cool thing is everything's time coded in Descript, so I can select those. Those become, if you ever looked on YouTube, they have the time codes where you can click and it jumps to that section. It's really good for YouTube SEO. So when I do that, I automatically have time codes that I put in YouTube for that long form content, which is a signal to YouTube that this is good stuff and to share it out, and it hits all the SEO for YouTube marks. So that's one thing that I kind of prepare. The other thing is, like when I'm going live, if you ever watch the show, I have this, and it's really cheesy, this overlay. And why do I do that? Because it catches the eye in the feed. That's the only reason I do that. And then like when a lot of times my guests will be on screen and I'll be rotating between the title and their lower third, like Eric was on ours. And so I'll continue to do this. So when I clip it, that's built in there, and those things are changing all the time, even in those clips that they'll export later. And so that's another thing that it's doing a change that grabs people's eye automatically. So I'm always sitting here switching things up during the live show to have those visual, little bit of candy that gets people to stick with it. Or they may be scrolling by and they see that thing flip. They may see the overlay going, and then they may see, oh, he's doing this, and then he's bringing up the guest title, and he's going back and forth. And so it's just and it's very strategic. I really thought about that. I watched news shows and I was like, how do they do that? In fact, like our show is actually like when I have this up and I have my guests there, it's strategically that I can bring up those titles below it. I can bring up comments from people below that in that same spot. But also, this is straight from CNN. I took a screenshot and actually drew it out and built the thing just the same way that CNN had it, because it works. And I knew that it worked over there. And so I was like, okay, how can I repurpose this? What can I see that's working that I know works in network TV? And how can I bring it to my show? And the same thing is like this shot here, where I go and I have the two people in the side, and then I have usually the number 2 is a guest. And this is a screenshot, and I traced it from CNN. So use things that are already working and figure out, the best way to do that in your show, and be really strategic. I mean, take some time, take some notes. Look at Kim's show. Okay, why is she doing that? Why does she have this lower third? Why does she have it this way? Why is she doing this here? And learn from these people. Look at Ian and some of the other really big live streamers. And like I learned tons from Luria, like how she does a countdown, and how she does all this stuff, and she does some really cool things. She'll go to members only, but before that, she'll go to the side and start talking. Thank you for watching, and that's for YouTube, so she can put up what's next on YouTube, and she cuts it because she's thinking long term. How can she cut this up for the different platforms, but still do one live stream? So learn from all those things and have a strategy going in.
Yeah. Speaking of, I will do the same. I will. So one quick thing I wanted to share when it comes to, I'm just changing the different looks here real quick. One other thing, if you're thinking about doing some sort of a show, or if you have a podcast and you're thinking long term of how you want to be able to position this in short form content, meaning you want to clip that piece of content in some context. It doesn't really matter whether it's a live show, whether it's an interview or of some sort, whether it's you just creating a piece of content. If you approach it with a plan out the gate, like let's say, for example, you want to, record a video around, 5 ways to do whatever. If you can be very consistent with your points, each of those points can be clipped. Or if you're in an interview situation, if you lead the interview or the question with, hey, Jeff, do you have 3 ways to do whatever? Then he'll tell me 3 ways, right? So that's a YouTube video. The point is, go at your content with a plan, so that, and make sure that you're, going, if you're recording it yourself, make sure you're holding true to the plan, rather than just willy-nilly in it, and then you're like, well, I'm gonna have to re-record this, it's not in the format that it needs to be. I've done it, so I'm totally telling you from experience. But if you approach it from that perspective of, I'm going to use this for repurposing, and this is how I want to repurpose it, you'll be able to quickly repurpose your content into some short form snippets, if you will. Okay, so we're going to we need to pull in our winners. Who won today? I want to know who our winners are.
So one of the things too that on finding that is, that's why I love going full screen with my guests. And you notice that Kim does the same thing. Is one, and I see this mistake a lot, is people try to make it about them and not their guests, and always make it about your guest. And so I try to bring my guests. If you will never, hardly ever see in my show me full screen. It just doesn't happen. One, it gives me a break when I bring them up. I can do other things and look ahead at the comments, but also it's because of that repurposing thing, because I can take this full screen and repurpose it a lot easier, and it looks a little bit nicer when I'm sharing it on the different platforms. So I'm always bouncing between either my co-host or my guest, and because when they're answering a question, I want them full screen. I want the spotlight to be on them. One, it gets me guests, higher quality guests when I start doing that and really showcasing them. And two, it just makes sense for my repurposing plan as we go forward.
That's so smart. And same here. I mean, when you're bringing a guest in, it really should be about them and the expertise they bring. Today we've been bouncing back and forth, just as conversational style, talking about this. But you'll in just a few days, you'll see that I will have snipped some of this content, and you'll see it on my socials. We try to do at least 3 video clips, turn those into stories. I mean, the reality is this show creates anywhere from 100 to 125 sometimes. I mean, if I really got aggressive with it, I could create probably 300 pieces of content from one 50-minute to an hour show. So it's an incredible resource for you. And if you think about it in that context of, again, people there's different types of people. There's people who will sit and watch. Thank you all so much. All of you guys have stuck with us the whole time. Right. You are amazing. This is long form content. There's some people who will watch long form content, but there's way more people consuming the shorter snippets of content, and we need to be there.
And more people will listen to the podcast on their own turn. I mean, it's amazing and there's something really amazing about being in somebody's ears every week. And so Nancy, I know, does that. She does her podcast and has it the shorter form, but there's something about, some people like doing that, like out when they're working around the house or they're out for a run or whatever. And so why not do it both? Because you're going to hit both audiences. And some people like to listen, some people like to watch. Some people love to have their comments on screen, and that's why you see Kim do it, and that's why I do it on my show. Is we wanted to make it about the audience and what they ask. One of the tips that I give a lot of people is that I always start with at least 10 questions, and each of our sections in our show, we have multiple questions about the different things of news. But I'm watching the comments, and if I see somebody asking a question that's even slightly similar to a question I was going to ask already, I will bring up their comment instead, because I want it to be about them. I want them to have the connection that their question is being answered rather than my own. So that's a skill you'll learn as you do it more and more. But being able to do that and involve your audience is huge. And it's just amazing we can do this now with live video.
Yeah, I was just looking for our winners, and I must be missing them somewhere. I just texted Rhonda. I was like, hey, where's our winners? Okay, so she had to text me and tell me who won. I don't know if the comments aren't coming up in Restream or what. We did have some issues with Restream when we first got started today. It's very rare, but every once in a while there's a glitch, and you never know I don't know if it's Restream or
live video, folks. That's what it is. Yeah.
It could be either or. But we have two winners, Alice Iverson and Tim Sohn is our
Oh
winners
yeah.
today. You guys won the social bubble mug. So if you'll just drop your information in over at kimgarst.com/winner, we will get these shipped out to you ASAP.
Very
All
cool.
right, so I have one quick question before we head out today. What was your biggest takeaway from what we talked about today? I would just love to know. Like, one of the things that I picked up personally was, and I highlighted it was, how you're taking the pins, the
Mm.
comment pin, not they're not comment pin. What did you call them again?
Idea pins. They're
Idea
idea pins.
pins.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I cannot for the life of me keep that in my head.
Right.
An idea pin, and then really milking it for what it is, and then repurposing it as a video pin. Wicked smart. I'm just curious as what everybody else's are. I don't think our comments are coming in for whatever the reason, so we may have to just hop over to the old fashioned
Oh
way
yeah.
and
And look, yeah. So one of the cool, I love that Restream does, and some of the other platforms, like I know Ecamm does the same thing, is being able to see where people are from, because it's really nice now to be able to go shout out and go like, hey, thanks Rhonda for watching over on YouTube, that kind of thing. And so I think it's really cool that you're able to do that inside of Restream in their comments. So, but yeah, I think the comments kind of stopped after Matt's
yeah.
friend said something, because
Yeah,
they're kind of
it
stuck.
looks. I was going to pull them up in the side here, but it
But
just looks
yeah,
like we're a little bit stuck.
yeah.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for being with us. As always, I know time is our most precious commodity, and when you spend some with us, we appreciate you so much. So I hope you have enjoyed today's topic. I hope we've inspired you to embrace short form content, and more importantly, use content you already have versus worrying so much about new content. What content do you already have that you can turn into um, short form content to leverage on all the socials? So thanks so much, guys. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe, and God bless.